नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रसाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। शील प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय। Thank you all once again for the Gita Sandesh. We are in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 Dhyana Yoga. So before we go there, we will do Mangala Charana with folded hands, asking for the blessings of all the Guru Parampara and also Srila Prabhupada and the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnanandanashalakaya Chakshurulmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ramnadam Vikam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतम सावधूतम परिजना सहितम कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मोकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं तत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे परमानंद माधवम श्री चैतन्यम ईश्वरम। हरे कृष्ण। So once again, welcome you all to the Gita Sandesh. Now let us recap and also find out what is the link between the chapter 5 and 6, which is Karma Yoga, Action, Krishna Consciousness, and today's chapter Dhyana Yoga. So in the previous chapter and so far, Krishna was emphasizing on the Nishkama Karma Yoga, wherein do it as a matter of duty, do it with knowledge, and the third is don't have any attachment to the results. That is what he kept on emphasizing, and he asked Arjuna to do Nishkama Karma Yoga instead of just renouncing the work. And what will you get when you do this Nishkama Karma Yoga? You get the knowledge, knowledge primarily that you are not this body, you are spirit soul, and because you are operating at that level also, and you will eventually get liberation, and this liberation will qualify you to get engaged eternally to do devotional service. So in the end of the fifth chapter, Krishna also talked about the the same result you will be achieving it when you do Ashtanga Yoga. So connecting to that, in today's chapter we will be discussing the Dhyana Yoga part of it, wherein Krishna discusses in detail the Ashtanga Yoga. So what is this Dhyana Yoga? So Krishna, though he has mentioned briefly about Ashtanga Yoga in this particular chapter, Patanjali Yoga Sutras elaborately discuss about this Ashtanga Yoga, the strict, regulated, focused regime of an ascetic yogi is also what is mentioned in this particular chapter. The present day, actually, millions of people worldwide practice this path, but primarily they are not following the Ashtanga Yoga. They are following Hatha Yoga and Pranayama, which offers some benefit, like such as for physical and emotional well-being. It does, but it does not really cater to all that what is required to get liberated. Though the Hatha Yoga part, Ashtanga Yoga does, but how practical it is, we need to see. And somebody was saying, why is that Krishna mentioned that if Ashtanga Yoga, you are saying that it's not practical in this age, and for the modern age, what is the yoga that is practical, and which is what is more easy to adopt? And so we came to know that and in fact Arjuna in this chapter itself, in the end, he mentions that it is very difficult to do this yoga, because I can control the wind, but controlling my mind is so difficult. How is that possible? Because that is the basis for your Ashtanga Yoga. So that's where we come to know that Krishna at later point of time also says that out of all the yogas, Bhakti Yoga is the best. But still there are some people who wanted to follow it, so that option is there, but it is very, very difficult. Okay, so that is what we have seen. And in this part of the Dhyana Yoga, it is acronym EASY, EASY. E stands for enemy or friend. A stands for Ashtanga Yoga. What happens to a person who does not get perfection? So whether he's successful or failure in this path, so what will happen? So then Krishna tells him that what is that he's going to get when he's not perfected, but still he has done some endeavor, what will happen? And Y stands for yogi, a topmost yogi. Who is the topmost yogi is what he talks about. So now if you also see in the last chapter, which is acronym as STEP, P stands for what? The acronym STEP, what we discussed last class. P stands for, anybody could put it on the chat. Okay. Okay, what does P stands for? Okay, peace. That's right. So P stands for the peace. The last acronym in the step, P stands for peace. So last chapter Krishna says to Arjuna, you can achieve peace when you accept and realize that Krishna, me, is the creator and enjoyer. Suhrudam sarvabhutanam sarvaloka maheshwaram Jnatva mam shanti vrujyati. So that is where he kind of ended and said that you will get that peace when you consider me as the creator and enjoyer. Again, Krishna starts this 6th chapter by telling he is a yogi who works and tells Arjuna to control the mind by stating that mind can act as a friend or an enemy. So that is where he is getting you the context, because you wanted to have peace, you need to make the mind your friend, but then only you will have peace. If not, it will act like an enemy and you will not have peace, right? So that is where we came across that. And it's 6.1 starts with Sri Krishna giving this. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Anashrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyasa Sasanyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. You should be unattached to the fruits of the work, and you need to work as if you are in the renounced order of life. So that means you should not get attached. That's what he's saying. So in this module, what we are going to see is that the enemy or friend, an uncontrolled mind will agitate, misguide, and entangle the soul within this world, forcing us to succumb to our lower nature of lust, anger, and greed. If your mind is uncontrolled, and we have seen that the lust resides in 3 places. What are the 3 places lust resides? Can somebody remember? We're trying to recap. I know it's very difficult. So lust resides in 3 places. Yeah, let me just check. Senses, mind, and intelligence. Fantastic. Thank you, Ashok Prabhu. So now he's talking about one of the things which need to get purified is the mind. So the uncontrolled mind, when it is there, it has the lust, and but that is what will give rise to rest of the things. That's the root cause. Anger and greed and all that will come from there on. Right? So the next thing what he talks about, the uncontrolled mind on the other hand acts as a friend. A controlled mind on the other hand acts as a friend on the spiritual journey, helping us make progressive and healthy choices, which brings us closer to God. So Krishna is trying to tell you is that you need to make your mind your friend. For us, that is the biggest problem. And we are not able to make the mind our friend. And how do we tame it? That's what we need to do. When one controls and befriends the mind, one experiences tranquility, peace, and freedom from the duality of happiness and distress. So that's where Krishna was connecting the previous chapter to this chapter, that to have peace, you need Bhagavad Gita 6.6. Bandhuratma smanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitaha anantamanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatrutvat. So that's what Krishna is saying. You need to control your mind. There is no other choice for you. So if you see, if you control your mind, it will become your best friend. You can party with him. You can do a lot of things. There is one video in the same channel where if you are subscribed, Mentor Planet, there you will find that we have done a dumb, what do you call the mind, where me and my mind, how it acts as a friend and how you can take it as a friend. Somebody can see it on the YouTube. The link can also be sent. So that's what it is. Now, role of the mind as a friend or an enemy. An uncontrolled mind is an enemy. Follows dictations of lust, anger, illusion, etc. and attached to sense gratification. So it has got a repulsive effect that once this mind is not controlled, it will also go and make your senses also gratification. It will prompt you to do it. Degrades and entangles and keeps you in this particular material body. So if you can make your mind your friend, follows dictation of the super soul. The super soul, what we have seen yesterday, there are three doers. Can somebody remember the three doers? What are the three doers? Yeah, living entity, soul, super soul, and Prakriti. Prakriti is also one doer. So these are the three things. And Prakriti is basically helping you to execute your activity in that environment based on Rajasic, Tamasic, and Sattvic gunas, which are predominantly there in this. Okay. So now if you can follow the dictation of the super soul. So the soul, super soul is basically becoming as a, what do you say, as a sanctioner, but again at a matured state we said that it can become your guide and it can tell you that what to do, what not to do, but right now it is not helping you. So vaguely it might tell you at a stage. See, when you are doing some activity, there is some voice that is coming saying that Hare, this is not right thing that you're doing. So, but again, once you are into this process where you are trying to control your mind and you are following the process, then these dictations come, and the knowledge that you are going to gain now by Krishna will also help you how you can control your mind. Then once you follow the dictations of the super soul, detached from sense gratification, so elevates us. So root cause of all this also is sense gratification. So you need to know how to control your senses, your mind and intellect, and how do you purify them. So we have seen that mechanism of the mind has got repulsive effects. Not just mind is there, storehouse of thoughts, unfulfilled desires, previous experience, all is here. And the decision maker is the intelligence, and the senses are the 5 karmendriyas, which starts with eyes, nose, tongue, ears, and skin. So this is also what we have seen. This Kathopanishad. So analogy of the body of chariot, where the horses were compared, and the mind with the reins, and driver with the intellect, and the passenger as the self. Now I want you to do a small exercise. Type the following, type the options where you need to control your mind. Out of all these, where is that you are able to control your mind? So there are we need to control the mind, and mind is uncontrolled. There are these out of A to F, some are basically what you can see is that that person mind is uncontrolled when he does when you see that activity, and the other ones where there is a need for you to control your mind. What are the options where we need the control of mind is there? So we need to control our mind when we speak, respecting elders. For that matter, you need to control your mind. Yeah, I know not many people will not be able to get it properly. I'll give the answer though. Okay, but I just want you to try. Okay, now if you see, if a person can't speak without speaking abuses, that means he can't speak. That means to say his mind is uncontrolled. He can't speak without using abusive language. So that means his mind is uncontrolled. Now, respecting elders, you need to control your mind. So it is not like whenever he is speaking is to his parents, he is speaking abusive language. No, whenever we need to control our mind, when we to respect our elders. So B is one right answer, where we need to control our mind when we are respecting our elders. We need to control our mind. Doing your studies for exams while your favorite movie is coming. What do you need to do here? Is it mind is uncontrolled or control of mind is required? So in the third case, control of mind is required, because when some favorite movie is coming, you need to control your mind to focus on your studies. So similarly, not fulfilling the urges for smoking, drinking, watching wrong things, all this is again, you need to control your mind. Criticizing others at their back, so this happens involuntarily, so your mind is uncontrolled actually. Criticizing others at their back. So we need to see how bad is our mind now in terms of this. The last one, attentively listening to others and understand what they are saying. Again, here also we need control of mind. So the answers are, so if you see, the right answers are B, C, D and F. So because this is where you need to control your mind, and these other places, especially the A and E, are basically where the mind is uncontrolled. So it's much more dangerous. So you need to be careful when you examine. So this prompts you to examine yourself. Okay. So A and D, mind is uncontrolled, as this person can't speak without speaking abusive language. And B, C, D and F, we need to control our mind. To do any activity, you need mindfulness and concentration. So how do you cultivate that mindfulness and concentration is the emphasis today, because most of us are having this problem. So students especially, they say that I'm not able to control my urges, or my mind is not on control when I start studying. Or some people may say that when I'm doing some coding or at my profession, my mind is not in control. So what do? I'm not able to give productivity. Output is not coming. Control your mind to bring the best in you. Why are we doing it? The mantra is that the whole thing why we are doing is that so to give best, to bring best in you, because you have that, and we are working like a miserly person. So you need to really find out how you can control your mind to bring best in you. Jitatmanah prasantasya paratmatma samahitaha sitoshna sukha dikkeshu tata manapamanayo. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness, distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor, all are the same. So if you see that, we discussed this sometime back in the second chapter also. What is that name he has given? Krishna has given name to this kind of a person who can to such a man, happiness and distress, heat or cold, honor or dishonor are all the same. Can somebody remember what is the name that Krishna has given? And if you remember the acronym Gita with the second chapter and the last acronym A, you will get to know. Yeah, Ashok Prabhu, correct. Sthita Prajna. And what is the other name for Sthita Prajna? Atma Rama. Akshita. Thank you, Mataji. So this is what you will see. Now you are getting how Krishna is taking you. Krishna initially told that this is what it is. How to achieve it is what he is telling now. What part he has been telling, and now he is talking about more to do with how part. How can you achieve it? And that's where he is talking about Ashtanga Yoga. How you can achieve this also through Ashtanga Yoga, and other yoga means is what he is going to tell in the later chapters. But for now, he is talking about Ashtanga Yoga, which is what is discussed as part of the Dhyana Yoga. And we know that in this Kali Yuga, the best way to control your mind is through mantra meditation. And we will discuss more about it. What is this mantra meditation? I'll just give you a glimpse about all this. The mind is always busy, restless, and cannot be stopped. Meditation and yoga helps us rise above the mind's chatter. What we meditate on creates our future life. So the fact be the very word mantra means that which delivers us. Tra means which delivers, and from the mind, mantra means that which delivers. That delivers us from this chattering of this mind, etc., and connects us to the super soul or to the higher. There are two ways, two types of mantra meditation, japa and kirtan. So we have not been introduced to japa. We have been doing kirtan while we are doing this session. Initially what we did is the kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti sodasak nam kali kalmasha nashanam nata parataro raya sarva vedeshu drishyate. So it is mentioned in the Shastra saying that Hare Krishna Mahamantra is kali kalmasha nashanam. So in Kali Yuga there is so much of kalmasha. Our mind is agitated all the time. And Kali is the in this Kali Yuga you usually get agitated, you usually get annoyed, you usually get into a mode of quarrel with anybody for that matter, and your memory is very short, and your lifespan is also coming down as the Kali Yuga is progressing. So what the people used to their age span in the Satya Yuga was like 1 lakh years. Then next in Treta Yuga it came to 10,000 years, and in Dwapar Yuga 1,000 years, and in Kali Yuga max is 100, but you see that hardly anybody is staying for 100. Going further, your age span will come down, and people will start becoming old at the age of 40, 50 also. Now it is happening, right? What is this mantra meditation? We will see this. The Vedas, however, are not. 1 second, let me put it in the system mode. So this is what is mantra?
The Vedas, however, are not as well known for presenting historical and scientific knowledge as they are for expounding subtle sciences, such as the power of mantras. We all recognize the power of sound itself by its effects, which can be quite dramatic. Here, a high-pitched frequency shatters a drinking glass. So, we can easily understand that loud sounds can produce substantial reactions. It is commonly believed that mantras can carry hidden power, which can in turn produce profound effects. The ancient Vedic literatures are full of descriptions of weapons being called by mantra, For example, many weapons were invoked by mantra during the epic Kurukshetra war, wherein the Bhagavad Gita itself was spoken. The ancient deployment of Brahmastra weapons, equivalent to modern-day nuclear weapons, are described throughout the Vedic literatures.
So it is mentioned that Hare Krishna Mahamantra is made up of 3 words, Hare Krishna and Rama. So somebody was asking, what does this 3 words means? Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare, the beautiful energy of the Lord. Hare, the beautiful energy of the Lord. It is also symbolizing Radharani. So the energy of the Lord. And Krishna, the all attractive one. Rama, the one who gives happiness to all. So this is the literary meaning of the Hare, Krishna and Rama, because that is what is getting used and as part of this mantra. So these simple yet profound words help attune our consciousness to the treasure of spiritual happiness that already exists in our heart. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Davagni Nirvapanam. So basically Cheto Darpana Marjanam, you are already this happiness, this spiritual happiness is there within you because you are Sachidananda Swarupa. Whatever you are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So whatever characteristic the Supreme Lord has got, the same characteristics is there with you. But since we got in touch with this material world and we got conditioned and we are not able to realize our spiritual happiness. And when you do this mantra meditation, you can revive that lost relationship with the Supreme Lord. So it is also said that this Mahamantra descends from the spiritual world, and it is there in our Shastras, but the reviving and giving this Mahamantra to all of us was given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it is said that Golokera Prema Dhana Hari Nama Sankirtana. So this Golokera Prema Dhana, so that which is there in the Goloka, that Prem Dhan has come to us so that we can experience that bliss and spiritual happiness. So mantra, as I told you earlier, that which protects you. Manah trayate iti mantra. So that which delivers your mind is what is mantra, because our mind is so much contaminated. So once you do this mantra, you will be able to deliver your mind, and you can focus and you can experience that spiritual happiness. So that which protects the mind. Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We'll discuss more about this at later sessions. So now let us quickly go through what is yoga. So yoga, generally people talk about hatha yoga or some gymnastics, and some people go and get some siddhis, some powers. Is this all yoga is? Actually, in truth, it is not. So in one way, the aim of the yoga in this context, especially the hatha yoga or ashtanga yoga, is to first and foremost thing, you need to control your mind. That's the preliminary step. And mantra meditation, what we are doing, as it is mentioned, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, when you regularly do, you can deliver your mind. That means you can make your mind your friend. So that is possible in Kali Yuga, because it is mentioned that Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Harir Nama eva kevalam. Kalau nastev gatir anedha. In Kali Yuga, there is no other way other than Harinam. So once Gautam Buddha was going, and you know who is Gautam Buddha, right? When he was going, somebody was abusing Gautam Buddha, and he was not at all worried. And his associate, Gautam Buddha's associate, he asked him, Gautam Buddha, he is abusing so much, why are you not replying to him? Then Gautam Buddha said, if someone gives you a gift to me, If I don't take, what will happen? So if someone gives a gift to me and if I don't take, what will happen? Then the associate replied, yeah, it will remain with that person. So then he said, in one way, no, what does it mean? If suppose somebody is abusing you and you don't take it, so it will be there with him. So, but now to not take it is not easy. You need to have your mind in control to be in that state. That's what Gautam Buddha said. Nobody can affect a person with a controlled mind. Because now when somebody want to agitate us, we are just getting agitated. And all that, if you wanted to be yourself and be focused with what you want, then you need to control your mind. That's the primary and preliminary thing. What is yoga? The definition of yoga is that yoga comes from a root word called yuj. That means to connect. And what are you connecting? You are connecting your what is individual soul with the super soul, or Atma is getting connected with the Paramatma. And this process of getting the connection from Atma to Paramatma is what is done by the mantra. When you do this mantra meditation, you are getting connected with the Supreme Lord. It's like a direct hotline with the Supreme Lord. Okay. Now there are 5 subjects in Bhagavad Gita which we have seen. So all the 4 we are in the control of the Ishvara, that is Supreme Lord. Now yoga is when Jiva comes in connection with Ishvara. The other 3 do not affect the Jiva. Once this right now you see Prakriti is really bothering you by modes of nature. You and this karma, which is what is there from the past life, is also bothering you. But and Kala also, time factor. So now basically when Jivatma or living entity comes in contact with Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, through some process, the process which is recommended is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, taking the mantra meditation. So once you do that, what happens is that these other 3 do not affect the Jiva. So the Prakriti does not affect, the karma will just vanish, and similarly the Kala. So now that's the advantage, that's what Krishna is saying. That once you get in contact, because all other 3 are in control of Supreme Lord only. Prakriti is in control of Ishvara, karma is in control of Ishvara, and he can remove your karma also. So that's the beauty about it. See, once what happened is that Sandipa Muni, who is Sandipa Muni? Can somebody know? Who is Sandipa Muni? Anybody knows who is Sandipa Muni? Sandipa Muni is Krishna's guru, right? So what happened is that when Krishna and Balram, they completed their education, they went after killing Kamsa, they went to Sandipa Muni's ashrama to learn some vidyas, etc. And once their education is completed, they have to give Guru Dakshina. And as part of the Guru Dakshina, Sandipa Muni asks, can you get my dead child back? His son was dead. So then Krishna goes to the Yamaloka and he gets his son back and gives him. So Krishna can remove, because he is the owner, proprietor and creator for the entire universe. So he goes there, gets him back. So his karma which was there, because of which he was lying in some other place, but again he has nullified and brought him back. So that's the, and we know there are so many instances where Krishna has done so many things to prove himself, not to prove himself for the namesake of proving, but actually he is Supreme Lord. So when he comes, he exhibits those kind of things. And one of the occasions when Arjuna has vowed to kill Jarasandha. Was it Jarasandha? Where who killed Abhimanyu? Can somebody remember? Not Jarasandha. one of the other. I'm not able to recollect.
Jayadratha Prabhu. Jayadratha.
Jayadratha. Yes, Jayadratha. So thank you, Prabhuji. So when he wanted to, he has taken a vow, and Jayadratha was safeguarded by all the Kauravas, and he couldn't really go close to him. And the sunset has happened. Then now, since he has taken a vow, and if his vow is not fulfilled, he has to kill himself. Now then, the sunset has happened, but still, then what happened is that all these people came out and were rejoicing that now the war is one-sided, and now Arjuna is going to kill himself. And they were making, they were so happy then. Jayadratha also came out, and then Krishna made the sun appear again. So then when he came out, Jayadratha, then Arjuna was asked to kill Jayadratha. So he can safeguard and protect his devotees to do anything. That's the beauty about Krishna also. So the essence and purpose of yoga is to focus on the Supreme Lord. So how I can connect with the Supreme Lord, how I can focus on Supreme Lord. That's where this entire, the purpose of yoga is for that only. Bhagavad Gita is also the ultimate purpose is how I can get connected with the Supreme Lord. So once I get connected with the Supreme Lord, I will have the characteristics, and I will get rid of all this contamination that is there, and I will be able to see myself in connection with the Supreme Lord and experience that Satchitananda. So what is yoga? Means to connect, to add, to connect ourselves to God is yoga. So the next is Ashtanga Yoga. So what we have discussed is that there is a need for you to make your mind your friend. If not, it is very dangerous for you. It's like a two-sided knife. So it can harm you like anything. So best is that you make your friend, and so that's what is emphasized. And now in the Ashtanga Yoga, Krishna will explain about what is Ashtanga Yoga, and he will also tell you what is the real yoga. So that also is going to tell you. The Ashtanga, one way to control the mind is through the process of Ashtanga Yoga, which includes Dhyana Yoga, the practice of meditation. Krishna explained the ancient path as it was practiced by bygone ages, living in seclusion, practicing celibacy, and under strict regulations of eating and sleeping. The yogis would sit in a perfectly erect position, focusing his consciousness in the super soul within. So that you just by listening itself, you can see that you need to go and live in a seclusion, practicing celibacy in thought, word, and deed, three ways. And if you don't, so there are people who have went into a secluded place, but they couldn't really practice celibacy in thought, word, and deed. Yesterday we were talking about Sobari Muni. When he saw these fishes mating, then his celibacy was destroyed. And you need to be under strict regulations of eating and sleeping. And be perfectly sitting in erect position on a kusa grass, etc. He is going to discuss. So despite the mental and bodily distractions, the yogi would meditate in this way for many years, maintaining stillness and complete silence. So I remember I went to a center called Vipassana. Vipassana is a meditation center which practices the Buddhist way of meditation, and so there the courses are like a 10-day course, out of which 9 days it is complete silence, a noble silence they call it as. You will not speak to anybody, neither anybody will speak to you. You will be just doing meditation 9 days, and the 10th day you will be able to speak to other participants, but like that. And I did 3 courses because once you do 3 courses of 10-day meditation, then you will be having eligibility to do 30-day course, which out of which 29 days is noble silence. Just imagine how difficult it is. But again, the whole point what I got to know by attending these Vipassana classes and attending that course on Vipassana, course in the sense doing the meditation there, is that it is very difficult and it is not practical in this modern age, because this kind of environment should be there, and your mind, manasa, vacha, karma should be, celibacy should be there. But where are we? And to get the ultimate benefit of Ashtanga Yoga, you need to really have that kind of environment. Hearing about this strict discipline, Arjuna admits his amazement. This practice seems impractical and unendurable. So just what I just told you, can you be maintaining noble silence for 9 days? You will not speak to anybody and you will just sit and you will do meditation. Is it possible for you? So that is the problem. So that's what is expressed by Arjuna. He explains to discipline the mind is more difficult than controlling the wind. So he agrees that, and who is speaking? Arjuna is speaking 5,000 years back. What about now? No, it is much more difficult because Kali Yuga started 5,000 years back, and we have, if you compare 500 years back only, it was very difficult. And now what you speak about? But again, Ashtanga Yoga, 8 limbs of yoga, which is what is classified by Patanjali classical Yoga Sutras, and where you have Samadhi, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, and Dhyana, and finally it is Samadhi. First is Yama, Niyama. Okay.
Yukta ahara viharasya, yukta chetasya karmashu, yukta swapnava bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkhaha.
He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. So, yukta aharasya viharasya. So, you need to be regulated in your eating habit, sleeping habit, in all that lifestyle. You need to maintain yukta aharasya. So, you need to be regulated. Right now, our problem is that we are not regulated. If it is Sunday or Saturday weekend, we sleep for like 20 hours. Sometimes people, I was asking some bachelors while I was working in the company, what do you do in weekends? Weekends, one person said, I just do nothing, I just sleep. Sleep like a, do you eat? Then they said, no, we don't eat on Saturdays. We only go in the night, morning we will sleep from the whole day. And in the night, around 10 o'clock, we'll go and take some this biryani, that biryani. So what will happen? So you do not know how to control your lifestyle. That's where a lot of problems are coming. Now, Ashtanga Yoga, the do's and don'ts, Yama, Niyama. Yamas are don'ts, what you should not do. And Niyamas are do's, what you should do. Asanas, this is where Hatha Yoga comes in. Asanas. Asanas are basically telling what some postures which will help you to make your body fit. That is there, because our ultimate goal is to go to Samadhi, Dhyana, Dharana, and all this. For that to go and do meditation for so many years, you need to make your body fit, and that's the reason why asanas were used. Asanas were not the ultimate goal for the in the Ashtanga Yoga. Asanas is one step in that, and but Hatha Yoga is just the asanas part. Pranayama, you can control your breath, and in the purports, Srila Prabhupada also says that when you control your udana and dhana, so there are two kinds of airs that are flowing upwards and downwards. When you control that, you can also keep your body fit. So that is, and also your mind also can get purified with this pranayama. So pratyahara. So pratyahara is basically you need to abstain from some things. So that is what dharana is, basically concentration. Dhyana is meditation on the 4-handed Vishnu form. You are not doing a meditation on as per Ashtanga Yoga on a candle or on a light or on something. So as per this process of Ashtanga Yoga, you are meditating on the four-handed Vishnu form. That is what. And this four-handed Vishnu form who is there as a super soul within your heart. That is what it is. And when you come to the next stage, where you come to a stage called Samadhi, absorption in the Lord. So that's where you will be absorbed. So this is all about Ashtanga Yoga. So, yeah. So the elements of yoga as described by the Lord. So consciousness, and the person who has perfected this process, first of all, he will not get attracted to any of these material things. He will consider pebbles and gold as same. No attraction to wealth, etc. So this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in his Sistastakam. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagatisha kame, mama janmani, janmanishware, bhavatar bhakti rahiti twai. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that when you perfect this, or what is his desire? His desire is not to have any na dhanam, so no wealth, na janam, no followers, na sundarim, no opposite sex. Person here is referring to women, but so that is what I don't want. You will come to that stage when you follow the yoga system, and the Ashtanga Yoga also can give you, but it is very difficult. And as we said, for this Kali Yuga, the mantra meditation, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the best. Go to a secluded place and do all this is not at all feasible. So we also already seen this. He who is regulated in the habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing this yoga system. So it's not like you just have to give up everything and go to the Himalayas or some forest. That's not what Krishna is saying. You need to be like a lotus flower. Be in this material world, but be unattached. How can you get unattached? One of the ways you can get unattached by controlling your mind. So because mind is the root or a gateway for the external world. So if you can take care of that gateway, so what need to come in, what need to go out is what is decided by the mind. So if you can control it, you will be maintaining your purity, and no trash will come in, and nothing trash which is there within also can be purified by the mantra meditation what we just discussed. So here Krishna, Arjuna is saying, Chanchalam hi manah Krishna, pramati bhalavad drudham. So here what Krishna is saying is that, Arjuna is saying is that for the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think it is more difficult than controlling the wind. Vayu riva duskaram. So it is so difficult. I can control the wind but not the mind. So that is where Krishna, we mentioned that you can still control your mind by not by Ashtanga Yoga process, but the mantra meditation, which is what is recommended, which has come from, which was re-inaugurated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by giving this Mahamantra. So suppose I have not perfected this particular process of yoga, whatever yoga for that matter, not just Ashtanga Yoga. So what will happen? If I am not successful, what will happen? If I am successful, what will happen? So when you get failure. So this is where Krishna mentions that whenever you are making your attempt, all this will go as part of your eternal bank balance. That is what we have seen yesterday in that 3 doers. We have seen that there is a bank balance which is eternal bank balance. It's not temporary. So that eternal bank balance, it will go, and so this eternal bank balance is keeping track of all that what you have been doing in terms of coming closer to Krishna. and that is getting increased. At one point of time, when it is purified so much, then you reach that 100% in the bank balance, then you will go back to Goloka. This is, and we are talking about eternal bank balance, not a karmic bank balance. I'm sorry if it is confusing. So karmic bank balance is more to do with karma. This is eternal bank balance is more to do with, if I get perfected so much that whether it's like a, what do you say, that a litmus test. If I can reach that 100% of purification, then I go back to Goloka. But now that is not all possible in one janma, one lifetime. So it may take 100 lifetimes or 200 lifetimes or 1000 lifetimes. But your eternal bank balance will keep on continuing. And for one of the reasons why you came to these classes, because you had that positive eternal bank balance, because of which Krishna has given you this opportunity to attend these classes. So here in this particular slokas from 37 to 45, Krishna talks about this eternal bank balance. Hearing about the difficult Ashtanga Yoga process raised a new concern for Arjuna. What happens if one faithfully takes up to this yogic process, but later falls away without perfecting his spiritual consciousness? Falls away could be that you have stopped following this process, or because your lifetime is over, that you have not been able to completely complete that. So what happens? So you are not successful in this lifetime, but what will happen then? It will be, Krishna is saying that you will be carrying forward to the next life. Krishna appeases all such fears by explaining that whatever takes up a genuine spiritual process is eternally benefited, even if they don't perfect it. If we don't complete it in one lifetime, we can carry on in the next life from the same point, and the individual thus evolves towards spiritual perfection. So it is an evolutionary process. So if I am not perfected now, say suppose I am not perfected in this lifetime, so next life I will be able to start from where I have left off. But again, you need to have this kind of environment, right, to take up that process. That also Krishna says that I am going to give you a life in that kind of a family and that kind of a thing which will facilitate you to take it forward. So the unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. So Krishna is saying that if you have done this, then I will give you a life, a next life, wherein you can take your birth in a righteous family. That means they are already righteous. That means they are religious. So if your parents are already righteous, obviously you will also pick up that only, right? That, and why is he saying that he will give you, make you born in a rich aristocratic family? Why? Anybody can say why? Why rich family? So is the eligibility to okay. Yeah, so what happens is that, thank you. Suppose you are taken birth in a pauper family, and now every day your life struggle is to find out how I can get some food to eat. So if you are very poor family, then you are just day in day out, you are just focusing on how I can get some food to eat. So if that is, then there is no focus for you to think about higher things. And that is the reason why he says that I will give you a family where it can also be a rich aristocratic family or a righteous family or whatever. So that you can facilitate. The last part is yogi. Here, after summarizing the arduous process of dhyana, meditation, and Ashtanga Yoga, the chapter concludes with a ray of hope. Krishna reaffirms that the perfection and goal of all yoga systems is to help the individual become fully Krishna conscious or fully conscious of God at all times. So the ultimate goal is that We should always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So that is our ultimate goal. So to reach that, what is given in this age, the primary practice of Bhakti Yoga is mantra meditation, chanting the names of the God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Through this process, any person from any background can attain spiritual perfection and experience all the benefits. So that is what is the beauty about yoga meditation. Yoginamapi sarvesham madhyatanantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yukta tamo mata. Of all the yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga, and he is the highest of all. This is my opinion. He is saying, who is the topmost yogi? The topmost yogi is the one who is always abiding in me, thinking about me, and within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. So if you see the process that we have discussed earlier, if you remember, there are three things that we need to do, which starts with your Swadhyay, Seva, Swadhyay, and what is that? Seva, Swadhyay, and Sadhana. Okay, Sadhana, Seva, and Swadhyay, whatever is the sequence, but you need to do your sadhana, which is what is told as part of this process. Also, you need to do your sadhana of taking the holy name, and you need to do seva. That is what is mentioned here, where you need to do service to me, seva, and the swadhyay. You should also have the required knowledge, so you need to study the scriptures. Studying the scriptures, rendering seva, and sadhana, which is what we do as part of our meditation process, which is what taking the holy name. When you do three of these things, then you are in a position to get into a liberated mode, and finally it will help you to come out of this material entanglement and reach the final goal, which is Goloka. So that is what is Krishna is saying, and any questions we can take. And the next one is we have logically completed the first segment, which is more to do with the karma part of it, and the next 6 chapters are the bhakti part of it, and the last 6 chapters is again jnana part of it. So next chapter we will touch, or we will enter into the bhakti yoga part, or bhakti segment from 7th chapter.
Prabhuji, you are mute. Prabhuji, you are mute.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Just now, Prabhu, or for quite some time?
No, just a few seconds.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Okay. So yeah, so that is what it is. Knowledge of the absolute is what we will be able to discuss in the next class. So if you know other, so let us take up if any questions are there. Prabhuji, Raghunath Puri Prabhu, anybody is raising their hands? We can take it up like that.
Yes, Prabhu. As of now, we have not received any question in the chat. Okay.
Yeah, Prabhuji, one Prabhuji is raising his hand. Moto Prabhu yeah, you can speak, Prabhu. Your name, Prabhuji? We are not able to hear him.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat. Can you be louder, Prabhu? Cheppandi, Prabhuji. Please tell me.
Sir.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Prabhu.
I am not able to read the slokas perfectly. I'm finding it difficult to read the slokas.
Okay, Prabhu. So I also started this journey of reading slokas. So again, the best way to do is that we need to practice these slokas. The Gurukula system is what we can take one sloka and then read it, how Gurukula system they do it. So let me just take that one second. So the last one. Take one sloka. Okay. So let me share the screen. So everybody can see this sloka. So how you should practice this sloka recitation, as Prabhuji has asked. First, what you need to do is that if you are comfortable with Sanskrit language, which is Devanagari script, it is fine. If not, here Sandhi Vichedana is also happened, so English is better. Sometimes I feel that because we do not have the grammar knowledge how to do Sandhi Vichedana. This is already done and given it to us. So how you should learn these slokas? So take one word, Yoginam, Yoginam. Ye should be dragged here, Yoginam. So now you need to tell this word 5 times. That's how Gurukula the children used to do. Yoginam, 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 Yoginam 5 times. After that, then you take the next one, Yoginam Api, Yoginam Api, Yoginam Api, Yoginam Api 5 times. Next then, and individual words also you can tell 5 times. Api, 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 like that. Sarvesham, 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 sarvesham. Now the entire line you should tell together 5 times. Yoginam api sarvesham, Yoginam api sarvesham, like that 5 times. You see that sarvesham, sarvesham. So this it is not sa, sha. Dot is there means you need to bring that. So sha, m. Because there is a dot on the top, that means you just have to pull like this. Sham, sarvesham. So this language, whatever is given here, it is to make us practice the Sanskrit. It can be used. So yoginam api sarvesham. Now next, mad gate nantara. Mad gate nantara. Mad gate nantara. Mad gate nantara atmana. Mad gate nantara atmana. So again you tell the both the lines together. Yoginam api sarvesham mad gate nantara atmana. So you need to drag here atmana, like that. Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mata. Ha, here ha should be there. It's not ha. Samad Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mataha. So like that. It takes time, Prabhuji. I myself am not very perfect because not finding time to practice in this way. But ideally, if you can practice this way, every day take up 1 sloka or 2 slokas and keep on repeating. And there are kids who can tell 700 slokas from A to Z without any seeing also. They have memorized it. It is possible because of our age and other things we are not able to. But when you practice, it will come. I also don't know anything about Sanskrit because of our education system. But again, I am trying. I am not perfected yet. I am also learning as part of this. But this is the process that you should follow. And we can also practice the slokas in the coming classes. I will also ask some of you to also recite so that we can practice. Okay. So next question, Prabhu.
Yeah. Khushbu Soni Mataji, you can unmute and ask question.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Prabhuji, I have a doubt from first chapter, Prabhuji.
Go ahead, Mataji.
There's a verse in the first chapter, Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya. So there Krishna is referred to as Rishikesha because he is the master of all the senses. But why Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya, Prabhuji?
Dhananjaya. Actually, what happened is that when Krishna knew the future of, because Krishna knows past, present and future. So Krishna has made Arjuna to go and fetch a lot of wealth from various other places. And that fetching of wealth, not only with respect to money, wealth can also mean so many things. He has got a lot of Astra Gnan. So if you see, because so many things what when in the Kurukshetra war was given by a lot of demigods. Indra has given some things to Arjuna. The chariot was given by few other demigods, and lot of wealth he has got as part of this particular thing. So since he was the person who went out and got all this, he is called Dhananjaya. Dhana means wealth. So he has conquered wealth, and that's the reason why he is called Dhananjaya. And there are various stories how he got this, and he has also got the blessings of Shiva, and Shiva also gave him certain things. So like that he has acquired so many things with respect to wealth, and that wealth could also be translated with the astras that he has got apart from the money. Okay, makes sense, Mataji? And similarly, why the name Panchajanya has come, that also has a story. Each and everything, the Panchajanya, actually, that's a story again, where how Krishna has got that name of Panchajanya. Similarly, other things also. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Nice question, ma'am.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Rajesh Prabhu, you wanted to go next?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
My question is like, what is the importance of wearing certain like particular attire at a particular purpose?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, see, this may not be rightly mentioned, but when Britishers wanted to come and rule India, they ruled us with their dress code also. I'm not giving an example that we need to follow Britishers, but dress code is important, because dress code also tells you what is the kind of mindset you have. There are people who especially I'm talking about men and also women, that there are some girls who go outside, just wanted to show to others that I'm very beautiful. And why are they doing that? They wanted to, sometimes they also go in a very explosive way of wearing small knickers and small dresses, just to get attention of the people. They are doing it. So right. So to attract wrong kind of a audience, you are also exposing yourself by using or wearing that kind of a dress. And that's what is happening in the modern society. Go to Bombay and all these metropolitan. When you go to the malls, there are girls who are wearing as if they are undergarments. They are wearing as coming outside with bikinis, this and that. What is that? You just wanted to expose yourself to wrong kind of people, or your intention is to get attracted to all those kind of people. So you are doing it. So now for us, especially coming in the devotional part, as Vaishnavas, our dress code is to attract, not only to attract, to distract the wrong intention people. So suppose I used to go to office and I used to wear this kantimala, and I also used to wear my tilak, and hardly I have seen any person coming and doing gossip with me with nonsense. And as soon as I come, they used to say that no, this nonsense, whatever gossip you are doing, it's not for you. Let us talk about something which will also help us. So you are prompting others with your dress code to attract good people and improve their consciousness, and also make them devotees. So that should be your intention also. Whenever you are using any dress code, is this going to help me in my ultimate goal of purifying my consciousness? Yes, dress also helps you, because that gives you right kind of consciousness. And that's the reason why in our culture, lifestyle is very important. The women, what kind of a dress they should wear. And it's not like dictating things, but you know that when you have the right kind of an attire, you give right kind of a impression to others, and they respect you in that way only. See, and in our Shastra it is said that Yatra Naryastu Pujyante Tatra Ramanti Devata. Wherever women are respected, there the goddess of fortune is there. But nowadays, in any family, you see women are not respected, and women themselves are not educated properly. So they are also not getting to know what to do, how to do, what to do, things like that. Make sense, Rajesh Prabhu?
Yes, sir. But like we are wearing certain. This is like a general, we can say it. But when we are like for schools, there is a particular dress code. For bhakti, there is a particular dress code. Like it is not defined particularly, but it is automatically it is there.
So see, Prabhu, from science perspective also, a lot of people these days, especially boys and girls both, the fertility rate in boys and girls has come down drastically down. Earlier, women used to deliver 5 to 6 children. Now, getting pregnancy or for one child itself is very difficult. There are so many infertility centers. Why? Because the kind of dress you wear also plays an important role. When you are using this tight jeans, so that kind of a thing is also the hormonal secretion for fertility is not happening. People do not know this, but this is a fact that when you wear this kind of tight jeans, and boys are also doing the same thing. First of all, jeans itself is not our culture, and jeans does not give you any air circulation at all. Though it seems like it is cotton kind of a thing, no, it's such a thick one, no air circulation. And when it is very tight, it retards your this entire thing. Yeah, and coming to the school, what kind of uniform they are following? Some kind of a uniform they have to follow. And when you follow, there is some discipline. That's how they say. Because people again misuse if you just ask them to come in whatever. There are discrimination between some people who are wearing nice clothes like that. Uniformity should be maintained. So they are doing. In Bhakti, we wanted to use something which is gives a pleasant experience to yourself and for others. When women wear sari, you like to respect them as Matajis, right? And any cultural chudidar and things like that, and men also, right? Yeah, it's a long discussion. This can happen, Prabhu, but in short, I try to do it. Is that okay, Prabhu? Rajesh Prabhu, can we move on?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any last question, Prabhu?
Yeah. Prabhuji, one question is from Pratham Prabhu. Yes, we actually asked this question the day before also. Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, you said that you will explain about onion and garlic, why it is not to be eaten.
Yesterday we discussed about onion and garlic. One person has asked, onion and garlic basically comes under the tamasic mode. Krishna is going to tell in the 14th chapter, I think, what are the foods that come under in what mode. And onion and garlic come under tamasic mode. History wise, if you see how this onion and garlic has come, in Bhagavatam it is mentioned that there is one counter a question that comes. See, onion garlic, 17th chapter. Thank you, Prabhu. So, onion garlic, see, in Ayurveda, sometimes it is mentioned that you need to take onion and garlic also, especially garlic part. So, because health-wise it is benefiting this and that, that's the argument that comes. So, now how do you take care of it? And see, one thing, what is your ultimate goal? Whether to keep your body fit? Yes, you need to keep your body fit, but there are alternative ways other than onion and garlic. And what is the side effect of taking onion garlic also one should understand. Like allopathy medicine, when you take anacin, your headache may be suppressed, but the other side effects may be there. So when you take onion and garlic, your tamasic guna will arouse, and you will not, especially you indulging in wrong ways of satisfying your sexual desire will come into existence. So all this is not good for you. And coming to Bhagavatam, how this onion garlic has come into existence, as per the story goes, you know that when this Amrutam was getting distributed, the distribution was happening, and in the, who was that avatar? Mohini avatar. Mohini avatar. Mohini says that first let me distribute to Devatas, then I come to Danavas. Danavas means Rakshasas. So then when she was distributing, and the two Rakshasas, Rahu and Ketu, saw that the entire Amrutam was getting distributed only to Devatas, and they also come in the disguise. They come and sit in the lane where Amrutam was getting given, and they kind of take the Amrutam both in their hands, and they were about to drink, and Lord Vishnu in the Mohini Rupa, she sees that these are not Devatas, they are demons. So immediately, with his Vishnu chakra, he chops off both the heads, and because they have taken the Amrutam and they did not go inside, so that it was contaminated with their saliva, the Amrutam. One drop, when it fell down on the earth, it became onion, and the other drop coming from the other Ketu, Rahu Ketu, became garlic. So since it has got the Amrutam also there in their saliva, so it has got some benefit when you, especially some medical benefit is there when you consume it. But again, since it also has the saliva of the demon, it also gives you repercussive effects of increasing your tamasika guna, and demoniac mentality will come. As Mataji, one of the Prabhujis was saying, aggressiveness will come. So how this aggressiveness will come? Because demoniac quality of aggressiveness will be there when you take onion and garlic. Make sense, Prabhu? Raghunath Puri, Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhu. I think it is quite nicely addressed, Prabhu. One question is quite pertinent. Megha Shukla Mataji has said that recently, Ekadasi falling on 2 days. So she came across some non-devotee, and they said that we should be doing Ekadasi not as per Vaishnav calendar. So kindly help me to decide that we should be doing on which particular day we should be doing.
Yeah, we'll address that, Prabhu. As another Prabhu was saying that whether onion garlic comes under Rajasic or Tamasic. So actually, as per the Bhagavad Gita also, if I remember correctly, it comes under Tamasic, not Rajasic. Rajasic, we will see that in the 17th chapter more in detail. But coming to the Ekadasi part, when we should do this Ekadasi, is that the question, Prabhu?
Yeah, Ekadasi. If it falls on 2 days, that is split into 2 days.
Actually, Ekadasi doesn't fall under 2 days. Ekadasi is decided based on the planetary movement. For each and every place, it will be different. And that's the reason why whenever we send out an Ekadasi notification, we say that this is for the people who are staying in this particular location. If it is in India, not grossly, most of the Indians will have the same timing with minor changes here and there, but usually location specific. For US people, the Ekadashi comes on a different day. So like that, it all depends upon what kind of this thing you are following, and it also depends upon the calculations that you are doing based on the what kind of see, there are two kinds of astronomy that came in, which took the basis as a moon as the basis and the sun as the basis. So based on that also little bit of change comes, but for us, what we need to focus is that Ekadasi we are observing and we are doing certain austerities, little small austerities we are doing, and such that I see the word upavasa. In Ekadasi, we do kind of upavasa. Upavasa. So upavasa means, vasa means Supreme Lord. Upa means coming closer to the Supreme Lord. Upavasa means you wanted to come close to the Supreme Lord, so you are doing upavasa. That means you are doing some austerities. That austerities could be you are giving up eating certain things, drinking certain things, etc., such that your now focus is not on your body, but it is focused on the Supreme Lord. Because throughout the week or for the fortnight, you have always been taking care of this body by giving it food, and Mataji is always busy in preparing food in the kitchen, etc., and at least one day can't be all focus on the Supreme Lord. That's where this austerities come into picture, where at least for 15 days Ekadasi comes, why don't we do some austerity? That upavasa, come closer to Krishna. There are a lot of people, and if you see, I have given you a day before yesterday the Ekadasi process, how you need to do. There are different levels of following Ekadasi. There are people who do not take water also. Nirjal, they do Nirjal on Ekadasi. They don't take water complete day. Not even water means no other food. So second, there are people who take only fruits and small vegetables kind of a thing. So then third category is that they take not grains, no grains at all, and no cooked food also. So the other category is that they take cooked food but no grains, and with fruits and they maintain. So the different levels based on your capability, time, place, and circumstances, you have to do it. Yeah, Raghunath Puri Prabhu, I think I answered that.
Yeah, Prabhuji, thank you. We have a couple of questions we can take, Prabhuji, maybe tomorrow. There was a question from Srivalli and Sindhu Mataji and Pawan Kumar Banguri Prabhu.
Why don't we complete it, Prabhu? One or two, very quickly we'll do it.
Yeah, so, yeah, Pawan Kumar Prabhu, you have raised your hand. Please unmute and speak.
Yeah,
morning, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, can we able to see Atma, Prabhuji, while you are connecting?
Okay, can we see Atma? Actually, Atma is not material, and if you wanted to see something, you are seeing with respect to your material things, like your panchendriyas, whatever are there. So you can experience, but you cannot see. Like giving because it is much subtler than your subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego. So you cannot see. You yourself cannot see mind. Can you show me your mind? You cannot. Intelligence, can you show? So similarly, soul you cannot see. You can experience it. That is where we call it as consciousness. So the existence of the soul can be seen based on the consciousness. See, if suppose whether soul exists in me or not, how can you tell? The characteristics are there in as per the Shastra, that if some soul is there, if the growth is there. If suppose there is a dead body, not even nails can grow in the dead body, right? Because soul has left. If the soul is there, you can feel the consciousness in terms of the growth and the Chetana. So Chetana is also there, that it can respond. So if it is not responding, if it is not growing, that means the soul has left with the body. So that's how we can, and we have seen that in the yesterday's class, what is the size of the soul? So that's mentioned, but you cannot see. As per the Shastra, you can experience, but you cannot see. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, Srivalli and Sindhu Mataji, you can unmute.
Yeah, Mataji, you can please unmute yourself.
This will be the last question, Prabhu. We'll end.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhuji, my question is that in our Purva Janma, like in our last birth, if we did some sin, can we clear that sin in this Janma by performing some pujas, yajnas, or by chanting?
Okay. So this is the question, if I understood you properly. In the past life, I did some sin. So what will happen to that sin? Can I get rid of that sin? So Krishna, subsequently, he will start his journey of explaining that. But so what he says is that whenever it is like this. So you take an iron rod. Iron rod is there anything to do characteristic wise iron rod and fire? There is no comparison between iron rod and fire, right? But when you get this iron rod very close to the fire or put it in the fire, what will happen is that take it out, the iron rod will get all the characteristic of the fire. That means it can burn, it can give you light. That is what tungsten filament is doing, the light bulb. So it will get all the characteristics of the fire. Now, similarly, when you come in contact with Krishna or the spiritual Krishna consciousness process by taking the holy name, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, all the characteristics of what you need to originally have, as I compared with the Supreme Lord, he is Sachidananda. He is all blissful, all knowledgeable, and is eternal. So all these characteristics will come to the Jiva also. So, but only thing is that you need to do this mantra meditation. When you do the mantra meditation along with your Swadhyaya and Seva, so then you will be able to get all the characteristics. Now, when you get all these characteristics, Krishna is saying is that I will get rid of your past karma, or all the sinful activities which you have done, I will also get rid of. And in the subsequent slokas, he will say that as when you burn something, the ash will come, right? Ash. So similarly, all the past karma, I will burn it like ash and throw it away. So Krishna is assuring you that your past karma will also get eliminated. Once you do your when you follow the Krishna consciousness process, which includes your mantra meditation and Swadhyaya and Seva. Thank you, Srivali Mata, Sindhi Mata. Excellent question. So we'll end for today, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Dandavati Pranam to Pavan Kumar Prabhu has got one. So let us quickly take it up. Is that not going to wait till tomorrow, Prabhu? Yeah, I'm unmuting you. You can unmute Pavan Kumar Prabhu. We'll close it. It's already time.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah, go ahead, Pavan Kumar.
Prabhuji, a few days back, I sent one message to you, Prabhuji.
Regarding what, Prabhu?
Regarding in my college, all faculties have an ego, Prabhuji. How can I exit?
Okay, so tomorrow, please remind Prabhu. Today we do not have time. So we will also discuss about how to go about when somebody miscreants are there. How do I deal with them? Like Duryodhana was a miscreant. So what do we do? So, yeah, sure, Prabhu. So we'll quickly do Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and then close. So Raghunath Puri Prabhu, can you conclude with Maha Mantra very quickly?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Mahamantra ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai.
Anantakoti Vaishnava Vranda ki jai. Thank you very much for everyone to join. See you all tomorrow. We will be discussing, coming into the Bhakti Yoga part, which is very, very important for us. That's the core of the entire Bhagavad Gita. So I request all of you to join. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Dandavad.